everybody, it's Miss Kristen and Mr. Goose here, and we are outside collecting eggs, not for the Easter Bunny, but for our exciting Easter baking project that we are about to start. So let's go inside and let's get started. Alright, so before we start on our baking project, let's talk a little bit about Easter. This is an Easter baking project. So while we bake, we are going to be talking about different things that happen during Easter. So let me just ask you this. What is Easter and why do we celebrate it? So just take a minute and see if you can explain that to somebody that you're with, or just say it out loud. The last we had talked, if you watch my latest videos, we talked about what it meant to be a disciple and the different disciples there were, and then we talked about when Jesus had his disciples over for a Last Supper. Jesus had the Last Supper as a way to say goodbye to all of his disciples because he knew that one of his disciples, Judas, had betrayed him. He fed them bread and wine. He broke the bread and said, "This bread is my body." He poured the wine and said, "This is my blood." And he forgave them for betraying him. Now, Judas betrayed him for only a few pieces of silver, and he told the guards where Jesus would be. So the guards took Jesus into captivity and they sentenced him to death. Now, one of the ways that they killed people back then was nailing them to a cross. And this was called being crucified. So, Jesus was nailed to the cross, he was sentenced to death. Jesus was crucified. His followers who cared for him watched and they wept as he died. And the people that did not like him, the people from the Roman Empire, mocked him and made him wear a thorny crown. Once Jesus had died, they put his body in a tomb. The king wanted his body to be put in a tomb and sealed with a rock, guarded by men, so that none of Jesus' followers could take Jesus' body in the night and claim that he had risen from the dead. Pontius Pilate, who was the Roman king at the time, was afraid that if Jesus did rise from the dead, or at least if it looked like it, that people would believe that Jesus was in fact the real King of Kings, which of course we all know that he was. But Pontius Pilate didn't want others to think that, so he ordered that a large stone be put in front of the tomb and that 2 guards be there at all times. While the guards were guarding the tomb, an angel appeared and rolled the stone away from the opening of the tomb. Jesus rose from the dead and his body was no longer inside the tomb. The guards were so afraid they were trembling with fear. 2 of Jesus' followers, Mary Magdalene and another woman named Mary, came to the tomb to visit Jesus and saw that the stone had been rolled away and that Jesus' body was gone. The angel told them what had happened and told them to go run to Jesus' disciples and tell them immediately the good news that Jesus had rose from the dead. He had been resurrected. It's really important to remember that Jesus died for all of us, to save us, and to wash away our sins, or the bad things that we do. Now, what we are going to do is we are going to start in on baking these cookies in my next video. Now, I would recommend making these cookies before bed. They take a really long time to cook, so it's better, instead of waiting all day for the cookies, to make them at night, go to bed, and then come back and find them in the morning.